What's up? Welcome in. Our first live Hoge Jahns show in a few years. It's not good when we couldn't remember when it was. But we think it was Houndstooth before the 2019 season.
Yes, it was after the 2018 season. When you picked the Bears to go 14-2 or 12-4?
13-3.
13-3.
Yeah.
I gave you an extra win.
So
Sorry.
yeah, it wasn't the best prediction ever. But people forget everyone thought they were going to be good that year. And they weren't. So let's hope that this goes a lot better this season with this live show. We appreciate everyone coming out. We are at Obvious Shirts in Wrigleyville, our longtime merchandise partner. And they've been so good to us. And we're sort of doing this relaunch with some new merchandise. And we thought it'd be awesome to kick off the football season as the Bears report to training camp tomorrow. We'll be there in Lake Forest. And we do have a few new shirts here. So good crowd here tonight. We appreciate everyone who came out, and we're gonna have some giveaways and some questions. But this is one of our newer shirts. I should hold it up for the camera. It says Hoge Jahns is my favorite podcast. And then you got the other one there.
It's right here. Can you read it?
In Adam We Trust. Which one? I don't know. But
take your pick. There's also one back here. Maybe you should hold that one up.
Yeah. I really like this one. Love stinks. And there's one that says love sucks. I have a feeling that one's going to be very popular, Joe. So, yeah, thanks to Joe Johnson and everyone at Obvious Shirts for having us out. This is awesome. It's the first time I've actually been inside the store, and this is, first of all, great real estate here in Wrigleyville and a good spot, and they've been doing such a good job. I don't particularly like that I'm sitting on a Cubs chair, but I can put up with it.
Well, look down the street, my friend.
Yeah, I know where we are. So, training camp's tomorrow. You ready?
No.
Okay.
I have 0 questions for Ryan Poles.
Zero.
That's
not a good start.
Those will come up tomorrow.
I have one question. Why was Chase Claypool put on PUP yesterday and taken off today?
One of the great mysteries of camp here. I miss the days where Ryan Pace would list off like a bunch of starters who wouldn't be participating in sort of training camp. At least they announce it.
Yeah, he'd be like Kevin White, 3 offensive linemen.
Kevin White.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the annual announcement that Kevin White was on PUP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For 4 years.
John Fox proceeded to lie about everything.
No.
Yeah. There he is. We'll take some questions. So if anyone here has, and I was told we can give away whatever we want. So whoever wants to ask first question can have this T-shirt right here, right off the bat. So don't be shy. Step up.
Right
here
here?
we go. Come up to this microphone, the big tall one.
You're going to be on YouTube, my friend.
Oh, wow, this is exciting. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. This is awesome.
What's your name?
Joey.
What's up, Joey?
Where are you from?
From Chicago.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes. Big fan of the show. What record prediction for this year? Some expectations.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I have them. What's the over-under wins? It went from 6.5 to 7.5?
Somewhere right on. I think so.
I still like the over.
Okay.
I think that division is fully up for grabs, and it's going to be a bunch of teams flirting with 500 fighting for it, which is fine for what the Bears were last year. That's progress. It's Justin Fields playing better. It's the running game still working. It's the defense being a whole lot better. Let's not forget how bad they were last year, but somewhere around 500 I think is a safe prediction.
Yeah, I promise I will narrow it down to an exact record that I will for sure get wrong. As we get, usually I do that right before the start of the season, but I tend to be on the same page. I think that there's a range of, honestly, I'd be surprised. I would actually be surprised if they don't get to 7 wins. It's like the floor, and maybe I should set the actual floor at more like 6. But I just think when you look at how close they were to actually winning some of those games last year.
Against some good teams, too.
Yeah. And even just you talk to players like that played on the Eagles when we were at the Super Bowl, and we were talking to TJ Edwards before he became a Bear, and he was just like, those guys, I know it didn't look great, but they played really hard. Like, they were hard to go up against. So I think that just the math there says that a few of those games will flip to wins. just because that's how the NFL works, whether it's turnover luck, whether it's just your record in one-score games. The same thing will happen to the Vikings this year the other way.
Yeah.
Although I'm still a little bit more bullish on the Vikings than I think most people
It's
are.
because you just watched that quarterback show. He likes Kirk Cousins now.
Yeah, he's my favorite quarterback. No.
Don't forget, that's my guy. That's my guy.
That's right. That's right. You can still have him, by the way. So yeah, and then obviously they should be better in a lot of different areas. So I don't think it's crazy to say like the floor is 7 wins. I just think it's a matter of how high that ceiling really is, and I still think there's just some limitations in certain areas, like getting after the pass rusher. It's going to hold them back to some extent. But honestly, anywhere between 7 and 10, I think you can make arguments. I think you can. You can just look at that. This is the NFL. This is the type of stuff that happens, and there's always swings.
And I'm not buying the Lions. I know they're the odds favorite right now, but they're the Lions.
I'm not buying any of that
No,
team besides the Bears,
it's
honestly.
true.
Like, all of them have red flags, even the Bears. But like we're such a young team. I feel like the trajectory we're on, like past examples of young teams like up and coming, while like kind of a weaker division around you. Kind of look at the Eagles last year. I feel like we're too conservative as a fan base. Like I feel like I get like we were 3-14 last year, but like I feel like 8-9 wins is like the floor, and then from there I feel like we go 10-11. But I get that's me just being a biased fan.
Well, I like it. Here's your shirt.
Sweet.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome off
Thank
the
you.
bat there. Anyone else who wants to step up, feel free. We do have a special guest. Yeah, come ahead. We got Kevin Fishbane here. He's going to be talking to us in a little bit too. No, come up. Yeah. And if we're doing a live show that Bob Dabrowski's somewhere in the neighborhood. So I'm sure he'll join us at some point. What's up? What's your name?
My name's Ron, and I'm also from Chicago. Question for you, because you mentioned the edge rush, and I think that like everybody in the room probably is like deeply concerned about, their inability to get somebody in the draft. Do you think that either the possibility of them being able to get somebody like Ngakoue, or do you see that Poles would try to maybe manufacture a trade? I mean, he's got a lot of draft capital. Do you see that he would jump on something like that this offseason?
Yes. I mean, I think all possibilities are open. I would be hesitant with where they're at right now to be, giving up a ton of draft capital. But I do think one thing to maybe keep in mind, too, is it doesn't necessarily have to be done before the season starts. I mean, we saw Ryan Poles was very active at the trade deadline last year. And if the Bears are in a position where last year it's like, okay, yeah, they should probably sell off some pieces. Maybe this year, with what we were just talking about with the record, maybe they're in a position where it's like, actually, this division's wide open. You're in position to win it. They need a pass rusher, then you're in that spot, maybe willing to make a move for a pass rusher at that point.
I think it's also important to remember that Eberflus's defense is with the Colts when they were at their best. They didn't have a superstar edge rusher. Everything kind of came through the middle, as he would call it. Let's dent the pocket and ruin it through the middle, like build it inside out. So you saw the investment there this year with the 2 second-round picks, with the 2 rookies who are. They're going to be a massive problem for opposing offenses sooner rather than later. But yes, it does look like a glaring hole. You do want, more talent coming off the edges. It's passers and pass rushers, and the Bears don't have a legitimate one right now. But
Walker seems serviceable.
Yes, yes, I think
Robinson showed a ton of potential last year, but then.
But then, how many Bears picks have you seen show potential and then not really show anything else? But I think Eberflus likes to have this go inside out. Oh, my phone is talking here. Have it go inside out. Now, whether or not, what type of investment that means for Ryan Poles remains to be seen. But I'm with Adam. I don't think he's going to give up a lot of draft capital quite yet.
Yeah, but I would still think they sign someone and add some depth there. But which shirt do you want?
Oh,
take your pick.
In Adam, we trust.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
We'll take one of those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. come on up. You look familiar. You've been to one of our shows before. No?
I think I was at the CHO.
Oh,
tailgate.
there we go.
There
A
you go.
tailgate.
Cross-marketing potential.
Nice.
Very well. you guys often say that...
Well, name first. Where you from?
My name's Joel. I'm from Chicago, though originally I'm from London. You often say that players know, right? It's like something we say. So how do you react that the NFL players seemingly have ranked Justin Fields above Trevor Lawrence in the NFL 100?
So did that come out, by the way?
The first 10 have come out, and
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence is 96.
Okay.
And Fields hasn't been listed yet, but they've already done a promo video. Clearly, he's in the list somewhere.
That surprises me that they would put him over Trevor Lawrence. I don't know.
You know how I feel about that.
I know that. So
I almost let me take you inside the locker room for a little bit. I still remember a former starter for the Bears, defensive tackle. I'm not going to name him. When they're talking about, so this is how they do the survey. They walk around the locker rooms and they're handed like lists, and the players sit there in their lockers and will fill them out. One player just didn't like this other player who happened to be by far one of the best players in the league, like Hall of Fame quarterback. Just because he didn't like him, he didn't put him on his list. You have some of that. So that's how I feel about the process. You have a lot of like undrafted guys. I remember seeing guys I don't even know in the locker room who were there for like 2 days filling out this survey, ranking these players. But yes.
Well, because some guys won't even do it.
Yeah, some of the best players in the Bears locker room this year refused to do it. What I would say in terms of your question, like players know, I think it was the praise, without even being asked about Justin Fields, that you heard on like players' own podcast. Just talking about the NFL in general and young players, and Justin Fields' name kept coming up. That to me means more than, yes, this survey, which leads to a great television series, and it is enjoyable. There is some players who take it seriously, but I guess I'm forever scarred by seeing this one very good Bears starter just dismissed one of the best quarterbacks of all time just because he didn't like him.
I mean, the Pro Bowl is kind of similar. Just some journalists, famously a Chicago journalist, refused to vote for someone for the MVP because they just didn't like him very much. So,
yeah, it happens.
You're talking about the Aaron Rodgers thing?
yeah. Thanks very much,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Hold on. Sure.
Oh, yeah. Which one do you want? What was I going to
I'll
say?
take the Hogan jokes, man. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
The on Fields though, you that's where I do think that's a real thing where you heard from players, and it's almost like they need to play against him first to like realize how hard it is to tackle him, and we've talked about this a lot with Justin. As many times as I saw him play a couple times in person in college, and then it still wasn't until he was out there on the field at rookie minicamp after they drafted him. You're like, whoa, like this guy's huge. Like you forget I don't know what it is about him, but like it's just he's one of these players that you see him in person and you have a much better appreciation for how big and strong he actually is. And I think defensive players are having that same realization when they play against him. And until they get on the field, no matter how much they prep and practice that week, whoever the scout team quarterback is for that particular team cannot replicate what Justin Fields can do.
He was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like the stuff he was doing last year was ridiculous.
So, and I think he also, a credit to him, has been able to connect with a lot of players just personally. I mean, he's a nice guy too.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these players have earned a lot of respect for him quickly. But I think Trevor Lawrence deserves that too. I like Trevor Lawrence a ton, so I'm a little bit surprised that he's not higher up on that list. Just hearing that, so
He also didn't come close to breaking a rushing record by a quarterback.
yeah, there's that too. So what do you think was going on with Chase Claypool?
No idea. No idea. It's not a good sign when that happens. We've been through this a lot, and I think especially with receivers, right? Well, Kevin White stands out, but Alshon Jeffrey, didn't he start on the PUP list? Or Brandon Marshall? It's all blending together now.
I think Jeffrey wants. I don't remember. Yeah, it happens every year.
Yeah,
with somebody. But I think some of those examples you just brought up, like it's not always the end of the world. It's just with Chase Claypool since the start, it just seems like there's always been something.
Yeah,
and I wasn't totally surprised that he ended up on PUP, considering, okay, he was hurt in the spring. We did see him working out with Fields a couple weeks ago on social media, so that's where the surprise came in a little bit. But it's just like the way this whole thing's been going, it's like, okay, yeah, this kind of makes sense that he ends up on PUP. It's almost weirder, though, that now he's off.
like what changed in 48 hours? Less than that.
24.
24 hours.
That's just weird. I don't know that we've ever seen that.
No.
A 24-hour stay on the PUP list before they've actually even reported.
Yeah. But you're right in saying, I was joking earlier, that would be the first question the Ryan polls. Like, what the heck is up with Chase Claypool?
Yeah. What happened there? But they did say in their announcement that it clears the way for him to participate in practice Wednesday. So it seems like they...
A nice 95-degree humid day at Hallis Hall.
Oh, you love it.
No.
As long as there's plenty of water out there. It's better in Bourbonnais. 95 in Lake Forest is better than 95 in Bourbonnais.
And we'll see about that.
There's a difference.
We haven't had a day like that yet.
In Lake Forest?
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, we've actually been spoiled with the weather there for the most part, I think. Anyone else have any other questions? Yeah, come up here. What's your name?
How's it going? I'm George. I'm also from Chicago.
Cool.
Along those lines, talking about training camp, it's going to be my first time going on Saturday. Was wondering what you guys had to say about Hallis. Things to see, not necessarily on the field, but off, what it's like, all that.
You have to see the Walter Payton Center. They actually resodded it or resurfaced it. It is a beautiful facility. It's older, but when you walk in, it kind of just shocks you a bit how large and massive it is. And then there's a lot of games in there for the kids and whatnot, but that's definitely a highlight, I think, from everybody I've talked to that has gone there and has never been to Hallis Hall before and can't go into the actual building itself. You're allowed to go into the Walter Payton Center, which is pretty cool. And the secret to that is there's stairs. As soon as you walk in there, go up there. There's like a little Walter Payton museum on the second floor there that's kind of tucked away.
Yeah. Also, if you're going Saturday, I think the pad should be on by Saturday. So that's an added bonus, especially if it's one of the first few padded practices.
Yes.
It's usually when they go the hardest.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest you see them practice all year. Because then after a few of those padded practices, they get a couple of injuries, and then they all tighten up, and they're like, okay, let's not go live anymore.
Too much stud. Like usually they list which field they're practicing on too, but you'll go there and they'll be on two fields. So make note of which field it actually is, because that's where the live action, the best action
Here's
will be.
the secret for that.
Yes, go ahead.
Is whichever field they're going to go team practice, when they have the full team going offense, defense, will have the big cameras that come up. I forget what they call those things, but
they're out of the end zones.
They call them boats, I think. Like the actual, there's these big padded orange carts that are on wheels, and then the cameras go straight up in the air on a big giant pole. It almost looks like a security camera, and those are only on one of the two fields. So that's the field you want to get a seat on. If you get a seat at the other one, you're not going to be able to see as well.
Yeah, you'll just see individual drills.
Yeah. So that's a good little tip.
Yeah, that's the best tip.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Should we bring in Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic? Oh. Okay, Bob. Bob Dabrowski, everybody.
Good to see you boys again. Thanks for having me here. YouTube celebrity now, I guess. So glad that we could do this again. It's been many years. I think that everyone would agree the worst thing about COVID was no Hoge Jahns live show. But
I agree.
We're back, so thank
Yeah,
God.
that was on the list of bad things, the worst. Yes, I'm
Number
sure.
one.
How's it going? How have you been enjoying life, I guess? I mean, we knew you were live because we could still hear you on the voicemail line.
Yeah, there were a few weeks there that I struggled to make it through when Fields was hurt, but he made it through, so I made it through too. You know, he's an inspiration to young and old, men and women, everybody around the whole world, I think. And so I'm here. I'm ready to get going. I can't wait for training camp because I don't have to run or anything.
What prediction do you have for like a Cole Kmet this year?
Oh, baby Ditka. 89 catches, 890 yards, 9 touchdowns. In the first game, 9 touchdowns. No,
How does that compare to your famous Adam Shaheen prediction?
I think he is a higher touchdown percentage guy and 2-point conversion. He was a 2-point conversion specialist.
Shaheen?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Grizzly Giant. Everybody remembers that.
Him and Bradley Sowell, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. What was that, like Santa Slay or something?
One of those bizarre.
Oh, the memories.
Hey, that was actually fun for a minute.
The whole year was fun.
Everyone makes fun of it now, but that was actually... It was fun
It just
having all
didn't
those cool
last.
plays.
Yeah.
handing the ball off to Akeem Hicks at the goal line.
It was only the first year. I don't know why he went away from that in the later years. It seemed like he heard about the Dabrowski double reverse deluxe, and I think he was too intimidated to call another special play.
I think you're right.
I think
You trumped him with that play, and he's like, oh, no, they've figured it all. There's nothing that can beat that.
Yeah, what are you going to do after that? It's nothing.
Throw 10-yard hitches over and over again.
Go back and coach Patrick Mahomes.
It's a good decision there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would do that too.
Well, I do got a couple of questions if I could trouble you boys for a minute. Well, first I've got my man Squeeze here, Guadalupe. She's from Brazil, and so she's, of course, a big Carlos Santos fan. And I was just wondering on her behalf, do you think that if the wind was right, could Carlos Santos kick it to the moon?
How much wind are we talking?
Carlos Santos.
Well, it had to be right, so enough to get to orbit.
You're the special teams coach.
To the moon. I don't know that. Let's start with what's his 52? I want to say is.
How about with consistently making your point after attempts?
Well, that's the one thing is I get. There seems to be like a little bit of angst people have with Carlos, sorry. But field goal wise, he was fine last year.
He was.
He really was. But yeah, it makes you a little nervous. I do think that we should learn our lesson a little bit from what happened with Robbie Gould.
We don't have to learn a lesson. The Chicago Bears have to learn their lesson.
Well, just Robbie Gould had
Gold's a free agent.
shaky season, but compared to most kicking seasons, it was still pretty good. But compared to Robbie Gould standards, it was like he was falling off, and then just panicked. And there was other factors involved, sure, but
yeah, he didn't like his special teams coordinator, and the special teams coordinator didn't like him.
Well, that's a problem, I guess. It's all a problem. But I think Cairo's gonna be fine this year. I wouldn't panic over Cairo Santos.
Good, because she's getting a jersey.
Good.
I got one more for you, boys. I think there's two very probable outcomes here. The first is 16, 17 wins en route to a Super Bowl. That's most likely, obviously. But then another possibility is they win 5-6 games in a row to start the season, and then Justin Fields gets hurt, and they lose the next 10 or so, and then he comes back. He's not doing great, but he blew it up in the first 6-7 games, but they're in position to draft a quarterback early the Panthers are going to not win a game, so they'll have the number one pick. But what would you do then? If Fields shows out, but he gets hurt, and you're like, okay, well, he looks amazing like we all expect, but what's up? And now there's these QB prospects that everybody's going all about. So,
well, as our old friend John Fox would say, the best, availability is the best. What's that saying again?
Your best ability is availability.
There it is. So I think that's part of the Justin Fields story a little bit, but he's tough as hell too.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not questioning that.
Has played hurt. Some of his best games at Ohio State were hurt. Him playing through hurt, I should say.
Clemson game.
The Michigan game. So he could do this. But yes, that would be. Keep hitting my thing here. That would be quite the major decision if Fields doesn't produce, can't stay healthy, and you have 2 first-round picks potentially in the top 15, and you got this potentially great quarterback class, special quarterback class. Like, what do you do? That's for down the road, but we'll see.
Has he been taking more of like a vocal leadership role as far as you guys have been able to see?
I mean, I think he was already doing that, but it does seem like, at least in the spring, we heard a lot of people complimenting his growth in that area.
Yes. Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles did themselves.
Yeah.
Kevin Warren.
But I do think like the scenario you painted there would be obviously the worst case scenario if he gets hurt. But beyond that, I'm just talking about the development and because they have to know at the end of the season where things stand with Justin Fields. And if he plays all 17 games, I think you're going to get that, either good or bad, right? But if he plays well and then gets hurt, then it almost feels like you're in the same exact position again that you just were, because it's like, well, we think he's the guy, but you have this draft capital and you just want to make sure. So let's just hope that doesn't.
I think
play out.
Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus want him to be the guy at this point. They love him. Not just as a player with potential. Yeah, he has to improve as a passer. We all know that. But everything off the field. They love this kid. They want him to be the answer. So if a situation like yours plays out, it's just unfortunate because now you have to make a serious business decision because you have the fifth-year option to consider because, that comes after the season. But because they want it for him. They all do. So we'll see.
Well, I retract my question because I feel bad even putting it out there. So pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah,
Thank you for the answers.
It's on YouTube, man.
Yeah, things go off the internet all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. We
Give it
can.
up to Fishman here. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, boys. Great to see you guys again.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob Dabrowski. All right. We can delete the question from the podcast. No, I want to leave it in there. What's up, Kevin?
I don't know why I decided to follow up, Bob. I should have gone first.
Why?
You
Just
can't follow that up.
yeah. Oh, you're
Better
gonna-
try.
Although he did break down the mood a little bit. So there, Bob.
Yeah. It's July, Bob.
I thought that question was going to end with PJ Walker leading them to the Super Bowl. No. Okay.
Even he's not. He's like, no, that's not happening.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you're thrilled about the weather forecast. Nobody loves sun and heat more than you.
Yeah. Yeah. I never understand how the NFL coaches out there have like long sleeves and pants.
Yeah, I don't. Get
You're a
that.
football coach now. Do you do that?
Well, I think they
It's
wear
hot.
like the thin compression stuff to block the sun.
It's called sunscreen.
Yeah, I know. That's what I would do. But
Vic Fangio would be out there in his gray hoodie sweatshirt.
He would be.
Regardless of the weather.
some coaches like to have nice tan lines right along their.
By the way,
side
did
of
you
their
see
head.
the picture
Like
of
Johns.
Johns' son's 9U baseball championship? He's wearing a hat.
I am wearing
Give him
a
a
hat,
hard
yes,
time because
yes.
he coaches baseball. He doesn't wear a hat, which is just absurd. But he
I
wore a
didn't
hat.
even
Yeah.
notice that.
Yeah, he was wearing the hat.
My second son won the his level championship game yesterday. So yes, thank you. Yeah. It was fun long summer.
I think you're just lucky that I retired from coaching.
I can make the whole podcast about that game if you want.
I know you could.
And how many celebration beers did you have?
1 too many. Yeah, we're moving a little slow, everybody. Yeah. A lot of work I put into that year, but yeah, we coached him. It was a fun year. It was his 30th game yesterday, and we were down 5-1 in the top of the sixth, and came back to win 9-6 in extra innings. So it was a fun
awesome.
game. Yeah, fun game. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll remember that forever. Baseball memories are. They stick with you.
I'm glad John still remembers it after.
Come on.
Number one question that you have for the general manager tomorrow, besides the Chase Claypool stuff, I guess.
I guess I think this is the question every year with Fields is what will they see over the next month that tells them progress, right? And I think we saw it in OTAs with the DJ Moore connection. I think when the pads come on, we'll start to see it with better protection. Robert Tonyan, I think, is somebody to keep an eye on that is kind of this underrated signing that's going to allow him to do more things. So, yeah, I'm always curious like how they evaluate Fields and how they decide how they can tell he's going to be better. Or do they really have to wait till week 1? Like, it's just because, we've been in enough training camps where sometimes, like, 2019 camp, I feel like we got a little bit fooled because Mitch was not good that summer.
Wasn't.
But the coaches were like, well, no, we want him to throw his interceptions. We're trying all these new things. And then we all saw what happened the day after your 13-3 prediction.
Yeah, I think they scored 3 points.
Yeah. So you can get fooled by training camp. But yeah, I'd be curious what they'd like to see from him.
So on CHGO today, I said that like the number one thing I just want to see in camp is 4 weeks from now, Justin Fields had a good camp. Like not this was it, on and off. And I'm sure there's always going to be bad days, right? Like that, duh. But I'm just like at the end of 4 weeks or whatever, even like, wouldn't it be great if after the Colts game, which is the second preseason game, they're like, okay, doesn't even need to play the third preseason game. Everything's been good. He's made the progress. There's no doubt about it. that it was a good camp for Justin Fields. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask in year 3 at this point. And also, I don't know if we've ever covered a camp like that where the quarterback has one of those
Jay
camps.
Cutler's interception free streak.
But even then, I don't feel like was he just dominating?
No. But he didn't throw an interception.
Yeah, that was straight practices without an interception.
That was Jay's best year.
There's a Jay Cutler shirt somewhere in here, still floating around.
Was that 2015?
2015, yeah, because Adam Gase got mad at Mark Potash for bringing up the interceptionless streak after practice. So
it'll be interesting to see how they articulate his success and failure, because yes, I think we are scarred by that Matt Nagy year. Mitch Trubisky was in 2.0 of his what was it?
202.
202 of his offense, and he was forcing the ball down the field, forcing the issue on a lot of throws, and we just accepted it because they were so good in 2018. At least we know with Fields, there's only room to grow as a passer.
You know what I'm actually excited for? The first time he has a bad practice, and all of us who are there do our jobs and say, it wasn't a good practice, threw an interception here, and then, then we get that. As if that means that we're all saying that he's a bad quarterback. So I'm looking forward to that.
No, I learned my lesson. I'm never saying.
Yeah, you got in a lot of trouble this spring.
Nope. He's
Fields
never
hater over here.
He's never gonna have a bad practice ever again, according to me.
Here's the key though. This is a little journalism trick for everybody. If Justin Fields has a bad practice, headline: big day for the Bears defense. Right? You just spin it.
They need those after last year.
Eberflus's scheme is finally coming together. Tremaine Edmonds had a big day. Jalen Johnson finally getting his hands on the football. There was only so much Justin Fields could do. Not even Patrick Mahomes could.
Thanks for joining the show, Larry Mayer.
I think it'd be more funny if Larry listened.
Oh, he'll listen.
He listens. He listens.
He'll be mad about it tomorrow.
Yeah, he will. He will. But seriously, to the point, I just like to see a very efficient 7-on-7 drill, because we've seen a lot of ones that haven't been.
Yeah.
Where they're not checking the ball down or throwing the ball away in a 7-on-7 drill. Or even Matt Eberflus actually has said a couple times it should favor the offense. The offense should be able to move the ball in that situation, because the drill itself favors the offense and what they're doing. But we've not seen that consistently happen enough where things go well for the Bears in that, or for the quarterback, I should say, in that drill.
There was a red zone drill they did in OTAs early on. It was like the best red zone drill we had seen. Or not 2-minute drill. And Fields marched downfield, 80 yards, scored a touchdown. It was weird. Like, we just hadn't seen the offense look that smooth. And then it didn't happen the next week. But like, those are the things that you talk about. We talked about it last year. We talked about the summer before. We talked about it with Mitch. Just put together drives. Just make the offense look smooth. Because you're right. The offense is supposed to have an advantage in a lot of these things. The way these practices are set up. It's not a lot to ask, you would think.
We saw Mitch Trubisky scramble out of bounds in a goal line drill for a sack in practice. Remember that?
Yeah, and like 6 times in game.
And they spun it too. Like, they had some spin on like why it wasn't.
No, Nagy didn't like that at all.
He was mad about that.
Actually, you know what, Adam? You did see that right. He did run out of bounds for a sack in 2-minute drill. Yeah,
that would drive me crazy. What would be? Because one question I don't necessarily know the answer to yet, because I feel like us included and fans are a little unsure about what they should expect this year to some extent. Like, what scenario would come up where you feel like Matt Eberflus would already be getting a lot of heat? Like is it just the defense doesn't take any type of step forward and they're not winning, and like,
yeah, I think for him it's defense. I was thinking about this recently, that how often they had a lot of close games last year, but how often was he in a situation where he had to make a call, that whether it was a challenge, a timeout, like there weren't a whole lot of those head coach type things we broke down last season.
Yeah.
There was a couple early on, but I feel like he hasn't been in that kind of hot seat a lot. So maybe if there are close enough games where you can actually point to decisions he's making that are impacting them, then maybe, I mentioned to you guys this earlier today the Bears fan survey I did. Eberflus is like lowest in confidence level from fans out of the power trio of Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, which isn't like, I don't think Eberflus has actually done anything to earn that, but that's also the problem. It's not like, I mean, when you think about what excites people about the Bears' organizational direction. It's that it's a new president, and it's what Ryan Poles has done. Matt Eberflus, I don't think there's a whole lot to complain about yet with him, but that's the other thing. When I was trying to analyze that question, I'm thinking, like, when did he like make a decision that really had us, trying to figure out why he made that call?
I feel like wasn't there one game last year, if someone remembers,
Giants game,
where he like was calling, he didn't go for it late in the first half when they had time, or
pulled a Foxy,
called the timeout at the wrong time
Foxy
and gave them the ball. I just feel like there was one game had a halftime decision that was a little. What were you thinking of in the Giants?
Well, the Giants game was where he was really excited about the punt and pin.
Oh,
where they decided to, they were like they probably should have gone for it, but decided to punt it, pin the Giants, and they did stop them 3 times, and then I believe that was when Velus Jones muffed the punt.
Oh,
on the way back.
Yeah.
So that was one call where it ended up working out, but then you think, look, if you had more confidence in your offense, aren't you going for it on 4th down?
Well, and there were a bunch of either 4th down, 4th and mediums, and like dicey range where you could go for it, where they just didn't. Or there was also how many 3rd and long situations where they ran the ball, which I guess is partially on Getsy too, but those are sometimes the situations where the head coach gets involved too.
Don't you think they finally have a quarterback when they do have a 3rd and long, they just let it rip?
Yeah. Right. Well, I would hope that's one change we see this season.
Yeah.
I just think if Eberflus's defense stinks again, it's got to be in the hot seat with all the investment at middle linebacker, defensive tackle. Their secondary should be a strength again, considering the draft capital investment. The talent seems to be there, minus the edge rusher, but if it stinks again, like one of the league's worst again, that's on coach.
The guy that I'm kind of most excited to see when the pads come on is Gervon Dexter.
Yeah.
I think that guy, we're used to coaches and players talking up people in the spring. The way they talked him up, like Justin Jones, Eberflus, other assistant coaches, other players, like they're in awe of this guy. So I'm really curious to see how that translates when the pads come on. Because they're taking a little bit of chance on both those defensive tackles just because they didn't produce a ton in college. But we all know what they're like physically gifted. So that's somebody I'd keep an eye on.
Well, and also if you were to look at all the defensive linemen they have and were to rank them on the question of which one of these dudes is most likely to break out and be something special, I mean, I would put him number 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. By the way, sorry, I just remembered. Did we talk about the block party yet?
Which one?
It's this weekend.
This weekend?
I'll be at camp, though.
Is that always the first weekend at camp?
It is.
Oh. Yeah, see, my annual golf trip got scheduled this weekend, too.
For those of you who don't know, my coworker here, Adam Johns, has a block party every year. It's always the first Saturday of training camp.
I'll be at camp.
All right.
I'm back, baby.
He'll be there physically. Mentally.
I got to leave.
Focus on the block party ahead.
Yeah, I won't be at practice Saturday.
There are people, by the way, asking in May at Hallis Hall when your block party is.
Yeah, this weekend.
There you go. Saturday.
They should know by now. If they're going to make the
it's
joke,
the first Saturday of camp every year.
If they're going to make the joke, they should know because it's been every year since we lived in this house, which is the duration of my Bears beat coverage, dating back all the way to Mark Trestman. Hasn't changed, Larry Mayer.
And Hoge and I have never been invited to the block party.
Yes, I've actually been to it.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I've been working.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, somebody's got to work.
I think that was when I lived over there, though, and I walked over there after
it's true.
Was done working or something. It was later. Yeah, there were members of actual Bears security staff were wondering where you were during the spring. So
they're always on the lookout for me. That's a sign of respect, I think.
Yeah, maybe also a sign of a problem, but no. Well, I'll
come over Saturday.
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, fine. Cap.
No.
Bob.
Mike Glennon.
Yeah. See.
Bob will be there.
Yeah.
That's true.
No.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Anything else?
No, thanks for everybody coming out.
Yeah.
I always like to, I usually make fun of you guys a lot when we do the podcast, but I do like to point out it's pretty cool what you guys built and people coming out to see it, and just honored to be a part of it.
Appreciate it.
You're part of the reason why, too, Fish Man.
Well, thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.
The Fish.
The Fish Man. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's super easy to create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. You add your job, purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with the right skills and experience. You can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It streamlines the whole process. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. That's faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Adam. That's linkedin.com/Adam to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Kevin was trying to come up with trivia too that we can. The only thing we could think of is ripping off Immaculate Grid right now. So I feel like should we do one of those for a T-shirt? It depends which two teams. This is.
Oh, you have something.
No, I mean, why don't we do divisional?
Okay.
So you got to do Bears. Someone who's played for the Bears and Lions, Bears and Packers, Bears and Vikings.
All three.
Yeah, you got that's the grid. You got to fill down the grid.
So
you gotta do one for each one.
So whoever wins has to come up with all three players.
Yeah, you either come up with someone who played for the Bears and Lions, someone who played for the and because this is Immaculate Grid rules, Robert Tonyan does not count. He has not played in a game for the Bears.
Oh, yeah, that means David Montgomery doesn't count.
They have to play for. Yeah,
they've played in a game. As somebody who was screwing up his Immaculate Grid the other day by guessing Derek Carr for Saints and Raiders.
Oh, that one
because he hasn't played in an active game.
Correct.
Yeah, I told the story before the show, but I was wrong on Mitch Unrein being a Bear and Buccaneer because he apparently never played a game for the Bucs, even though that's where he signed after he was with the Bears. That surprised me. I would have
gotten that wrong
because he was pretty decent when he was with the Bears. So, all
right. Well, thanks for having me on again, Ben.
All right. Well, whoever can do that, you got it.
Oh, we got one.
Okay, come up here to the microphone, and
welcome to the YouTube channel.
Kevin's gonna have to be the judge, I guess.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
What's up? What's your name?
Zach. I'm from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. So.
Yeah. I know it well.
Yeah. So Will Young, Chester Taylor, and Julius Peppers.
Yeah.
Get the man a shirt.
That works. that works. We have more of those shirts back there. I think that they can hook you up with one. Appreciate it. That was pretty good.
It's fast.
Chester Taylor, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And wait, what was the first one?
Willie Young.
Willie Young. Yeah. Willie Young with the Lions.
Willie
the
Young.
best sack celebration. The fisherman.
The fishing celebration.
So.
Sorry, I was kind of hoping for Christian Jones, Bernard Berrien, and Pat O'Donnell.
Ooh. Oh, Pat O'Donnell. That's a good one.
Very good.
Adrian Amos would also work
counts.
for Bears Packers. All right. Let me ask you. I already answered this earlier when I said that I would like to see Justin Fields actually just, dominate training camp. Let's see it. What would be like the one thing that 4 weeks from now you're looking back and being like this has to happen. This is the number one thing that we have to see.
Well, if Justin Fields is dominating training camp, that means DJ Moore is dominating training camp. And I think the competition between the receivers and the cornerbacks is going to be some of the best. They're some of my favorite drills, the one-on-one drills they do. Yes, that still favors the offense, but the level of talent that they have in that secondary right now with Tyreek Stevenson, who I've heard fantastic things about coming out of Hallis Hall, to see what they could do against DJ Moore, Chase Claypool. That's must watch for me. I know you like going and see the linemen, but to see the receivers go against the cornerbacks, it's going to be fun to see. So if DJ Moore becomes everything the Bears hope he is and helps Justin Fields, that's got to be one of the main storylines coming out of the camp. You need to see that connection happen nearly every single day, where it's a story when it doesn't happen. You want to see the production in every drill between those guys.
Do you think at any point, though, that can almost become a problem if it's too obvious?
Where he's forcing the issue?
Well, there's that, but also just if it's DJ Moore every single day, who else is developing from those wide
I get your
receivers?
point,
Because they need more. you want to see Darnell Mooney come back, and hopefully he's good to go and can practice this week, and you want to see him perform, and then you want to see Chase Claypool too. So if it's just like, and what we saw in the spring, I feel like almost already answers what you're talking about. That connection was already there. Now, obviously, you want to see it there, but I would also put DJ Moore in a category of players. I don't really need to see you play that much in the preseason. Like, maybe a little bit to make sure that translates over to the football field with Justin.
See, I actually want to see him force the issue to DJ Moore a little bit to see if he's really the number one wide receiver that he can be. Because if you look at all these number one guys, like my guy Kirk Cousins, he just throws it up, and Justin Jefferson seems to come down with it.
Yeah.
You have to force the issue. You have to trust your guys. Sometimes the pocket's collapsing too fast on you, or you have to find your guy. Give him a shot. Like, I want to see Fields take more shots where he's not just pulling the ball down and running. Like, take a shot, trust your instincts, give your guy a chance. And DJ Moore is a guy who deserves those chances. And yes, so does Darnell Mooney, so does Cole Kmet. I get it. So does Chase Claypool. But DJ Moore was part of a blockbuster trade for the first pick. There is so much invested in him. I want you to force the issue into tight coverage to see if he can make those contentious catches for you in the regular season.
I'm really interested to see how the Bears handle that passing versus running dynamic in team periods, even in 7-on-7 to a certain extent, because we did see so many practices, I still feel like, in the spring where it was kind of hard to tell, like, is he holding on to the ball too long? Would he have been sacked there? They're not wearing pads, so it's a little bit easier in training camp when the pads go on, where you get a much better feel for that. But are they going to say, hey, Justin, okay, when you're in trouble, run? Or are they going to ask him to really try as hard as you can to stay in the pocket and get rid of the football? I mean, that's a fine line that they got to figure out, because you don't want to take away the running instincts, because that's a strength of his.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said about the 7-on-7 drill. It's a passing drill. Throw the ball, force the issue, trust your coverage, trust what you're seeing, and trust your receiver to go make a play for you. If DJ Moore can't earn that to the next level from Fields, I don't know what's going to happen there, but I like to see him force the ball to him in certain spots just to see what types of plays he can make.
Yeah, I would probably rather see him force a throw in 7-on-7 and have it tipped and picked off than see. I just, and I know this is what sort of got in trouble that fans didn't want to hear during minicamp, but like, there were just too many times where I'm just like, you got to get rid of the ball still. And that's the thing that I really am hoping he grows out of, which he still has time to do, plenty of time to do that. But we still saw that in 7-on. That was really what was the problem for me that I was getting at that one day, which was just like, get rid of it. Like, just, you got to throw the ball.
Yeah, throw us with some anticipation. Trust what you're seeing. And, like, don't be, like, Jay Cutler was a see it and rip it guy. He had to see him come open, and then he would try to gun it through the tightest of windows, and he had the arm talent to do it, and Fields has some of that in him. The anticipation part is so important for quarterbacks. It's next level stuff. It's what the best ones have. To see Fields develop that with DJ Moore, I mean, that would be a great step forward for that whole entire offense.
And that's really, I think, at the end of the day, what you want to see. I would say even like in the first quarter, like a few weeks into the actual regular season, I think fans will rightly be frustrated if it's still a struggle on offense. I'm not saying they need to lead the league in points or anything like that, but just sustain drives, get first downs, get past this point that the Bears have just, it feels like they've been stuck in forever, where it's just like, all right, all this anticipation, week one, and they go 3 and out right away. It's like, okay. And then usually it's ugly, right? It's not just like a regular 3 and out. It's like, oh, false start, maybe a ball on the ground. Like, they got, and I think that that's the one thing I think you can take away from last season, that there were signs of that happening, of them breaking out of that. And I would put Luke Getsy up there as one of the guys in this organization that I have a lot of confidence in going into this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic in Fields. Like, he could do things that Trubisky couldn't do, that Jay Cutler, love him or hate him, couldn't do. There's a lot of magic in what Justin Fields can do to create, like, after the play. Those plays within the play, after the play, when everything breaks down. He has some of that energy that Mahomes brings to your team, where He's just the best darn player on the field. He has that in him. Yes, it's on Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus to bring that out more consistently, but it's also like finding ways to get your receivers involved. Like, just look at the Chiefs, right? Things break down, and those guys just have to be wide open, and it's like a 10-yard pass that turns into like a 35-yard gain. Like, there was some crazy stat about Mahomes not having a touchdown pass longer than 20 yards this year because he creates for his teammates. Fields has that in him when the play breaks down, but now he's got better players. So I like to see some of that come out of training camp as well.
Yeah. I love training camp. I'm excited for it.
Optimism is high.
I don't care.
Although, is 7 wins, 8 wins, is that really optimistic? After last year?
I don't think it's pessimistic. I think it's
realistic.
Yeah. Probably. But I think a lot of these, people are going to make fun of the NFC North this year for not being, that strong of a division, but I still think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of entertaining games out of the NFC North.
They'll make fun of the NFC North, and then you'll see like the Bears make the playoffs, and it's like the last team you want to face because of the unpredictability of like what Justin Fields could do to your defense. Mm-hmm. Who would want to face them in a win or go home situation?
Well, so real quick on the NFC North, I am mostly with you. I feel like on the Lions, like I think that they're being overhyped a little bit. We've seen this in the past with the Lions.
Thank you, Hard Knocks.
But almost with the Vikings, I almost feel like they're being put down too much.
This is why everybody thinks he's like a secret Vikings fan, right?
Who thinks that?
Everybody, just read the comments. Yeah.
Well, I did predict him to win the division last year, didn't I?
See what I mean?
Yeah, and it happened.
See?
Yeah. No, but it has not really nothing to do with Kirk Cousins. It has more to do with, like, let's not forget that they went out and they hired Brian Flores. And a lot of those guys that are still in that defense are better fits for what Brian Flores wants to do than what Ed Donatel was trying to do last year. Now, it's never great when you have to flip the schemes 2 years in a row. But I feel like 100% they're not winning 13 games. I don't even think they're win 10 probably. But I do not think that the Vikings are going to fall off the face of the earth. I think
they'll be competitive.
I think they're still an 8-9 win team somewhere in there. Just because they have the best receiver in football. Okay, as much as I have fun ripping on Kirk Cousins, he's not awful. Okay, he's
a top 14 quarterback.
He's just but he's like 14, and he's always 14, right? Like that's kind of the problem. They're not winning a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. It's just not going to happen. That's the problem with Kirk Cousins. It's not that he's awful. There's just too much talent on that team to just completely fall off.
So here's the question I have for you: how confident are you, since we have a shirt like this it's printed now?
What, the one that says "In Adam We Trust"?
No, not. Well, of course.
They're talking about you, not me.
Love stinks.
Oh yeah. Love stinks. How am I still? Am I still
on
that?
Are you still very confident that Jordan Love stinks as a quarterback?
Yes, I am. I think the Packers are drafting a quarterback in April next year.
Okay.
Yeah. I still. Is there a possibility that, and I would hope so, that a first-round quarterback can go through what Jordan Love went through the last few years and develop? I would hope there's some of that. Like
that path doesn't exist anymore, but I know what you're saying.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so is there a world where he was the rare situation where he went through that he, how am I trying to say this? I think he's going to have weeks where he actually looks pretty decent. But I still feel like at the end of the season, you'll be like, that's just not the guy that should have been a first-round pick, and they probably should have traded Aaron Rodgers a lot earlier than they did, which I've been saying, for years now, since the Justin Fields draft. That's when they should have made that trade, in my opinion. And so I am not one of these people that thinks Jordan Love's going to slide in there and the Packers are going to win the division. I would say right now I would actually feel more confident about the Bears winning the NFC North than the Packers.
With Aaron Rodgers last year, they didn't win the division.
Yeah, well, that's people forget that because they were like in the mix at the end, but they had to go.
They lost to the Lions.
Yeah, they went on one of these Aaron Rodgers runs that he tends to do at the end of the season. There was nothing that impressive about it. And then they lost to the Lions at home with a chance to make the playoffs.
And that was it.
And so it's like, how are you going to subtract Aaron Rodgers from that and think they're going to be better? I'm really struggling with that, especially because I think they were 30th in money spent this offseason. So it's not like they went out and really added anyone other than through the draft.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be very good. The entire team. Forget Jordan Love.
I would say the floor for the Packers is lower than any other team in the division.
I think it is.
Is that fair?
I think those are the betting odds right now.
I like if there's one team that you said only wins 3 games this season.
You know what that means, though, right? That means they get a top 5 pick and the pick of the next. I mean, you know what that means, right?
Well, but that's, in my opinion, that's what they should be doing.
Yes.
I think they should be tanking for the number 1 pick.
Maybe that's what they're doing by
Well, and it might be.
going all in on Love.
It might be. I would say that scenario is more likely than all of a sudden Jordan Love slides right in there and he's the next Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but if you're a Bears fan, you should probably be rooting for a very mediocre 6 to 7 win season.
Yeah, so
right?
you actually want Jordan Love to be good for a little bit.
Just as long as those wins don't come in week 1
Outside
or week
the
18,
top
right?
10, if they want to move up, it's going to cost a lot. You know, Packers don't like doing that. You don't want them to have a shot at those next, 2 or 3 quarterbacks?
Bears clinched their playoff spot week 18 at Lambeau?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know. Bob, that sound good?
Thinking like week 9 or 10.
Oh, he said week 9 or 10. It'll come down to the end.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we could take it. Yeah,
Yeah, come on in.
We got a few more minutes, so we can sneak 1 or 2 questions in for sure. What's
Hold
your name?
on, name, where you from?
Elliot. My name's Elliot from Chicago. Live in a couple blocks over there.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of happened upon this, so that's cool.
Oh, you're just walking by?
I was just walking by. Yeah.
That's sweet.
yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Now I'm
I hope
here,
you
I
like the
guess.
Bears.
I do. Happenstance, but man, was I lucky. My question is, are we as confident about Chase Claypool as everybody seems to be? Because I don't know what happened, but when they traded a second round, well, really was like a first round pick for a guy who is notorious for, dropping a ball. Like, I mean, I think he catches the ball like in his chest. It's kind of been a big issue for him going back to I think his rookie season. And I mean, I have friends in Pittsburgh and they were overjoyed to get Chase Claypool off their hands, especially for the draft pick that they got. Should we be a little bit more concerned than we are? I think the Bears are investing a lot in him to be their number 2. And I don't know if I'm there with that right now.
I think when you're evaluating that trade or his acquisition, you can't forget the context of when they made the move for him. Like Justin Fields was playing well, his running was exciting, and he needed help. Like his receivers weren't producing. Darnell Mooney, I think, was hurt at that point or soon to be hurt. They needed help, and there was pressure to deliver Fields that help so he could take that next step in his development because they saw so many good things. I mean, if Ryan Poles over Beard, do you regret trading what happened to be the 32nd overall pick? Yeah, I'm sure he would say yes, absolutely. But he didn't know it was going to be at that point. I think that they were just coming off a huge win against the Patriots, right? Too. So it was that point in the season.
Yeah, it was right around there. I can't remember if they'd lost that game afterwards yet or if that was just when they traded Roquan. But yeah, it was right around there. You also have to keep in mind, as we've talked about before, what the upcoming wide receiver market looked like. And it didn't look like there was a lot of access to a lot of players. They certainly didn't think that they were probably at that point going to be able to get DJ Moore, right? Because they weren't planning on having the number 1 pick at that time. And so, as I've said all along, the vibes have not been great with Chase Claypool, but he's still on the team. He's still got some talent, and I think you just got to ride this thing out this season and see what he can still give you.
I think ultimately the Chase Claypool acquisition isn't really what rubbed people the wrong way. I think it was giving up a 33rd overall pick. I think a 3rd or a 4th rounder would have been more acceptable in general. But I understand that perspective. I mean, they were also, I guess it was Ryan Poles' first mid-season. The trade deadline doesn't normally matter in the NFL. I guess that was a weird deadline also
Yeah.
that took place. So I don't
Well,
know.
there was more deals that normally happen.
Yeah, that was
and we'll see if
crazy.
that continues. Actually, I hope it does. It made it more entertaining.
I just won't forget at that point in the season, because heck, I was writing it a bunch, is Justin Fields needs more help. He needs help to move the ball down the field because he can't do everything himself. And they delivered what was a former second-round pick in Chase Claypool, a bigger target than Darnell Mooney, and it was exciting in that moment. Like, people were happy, fans were happy for a little bit, and then everybody got hurt. But it's Bears football for you sometimes.
Hope he catches it with his hands. That's all.
Appreciate the question. I think we had at least one more. Yeah, come on up here. It's been a fun hour. Appreciate everybody sticking around too. What's up?
Love the shirt. Absolutely love the shirt.
It's a good one. I'm going to buy my second Hoge Jahns shirt today, but this was the first one I had to buy.
Nice. We appreciate the support.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I feel like I'd be remiss. I know Bears training camp's tomorrow, but I'd be remiss to not ask a question about quarterback and like Hard Knocks and stuff like that. But I'll tie it back to the Bears.
Okay.
But want to hear what you guys thought about the show because it was such a cool look into the NFL. And then my Bears question in that is like, is there really something from your guys' perspective, like with the Bears taking a huge stance of being like Hard Knocks would be such a cancer in this locker room, and like I'm watching Patrick Mahomes have cameras in his face and then he wins a Super Bowl, on quarterback. So like, in your opinion, is that actually a real thing? And then just what'd you think of the show?
Well, I love the
He's a
show.
Kirk Cousins fan now, so
I love the show. It lived up to the high expectations I had for it because I had talked to some people who worked on the show and they were like, no, seriously, the stuff you're going to hear on this is really good. And I think anytime we can see more of the inside world of what these players actually live during the season, and not just the players, but also support staff. Like, I love that we saw the Chiefs trainer get emotional, right? They showed that in the locker room. Like, there's so many people tied in behind the scenes that work way longer hours than even the players do. They're in the building, 20-hour days, and I'm not just talking about the coaches. There's just so many people behind the scenes that don't get paid nearly as much as these players do either. And I just think that shows that show that are important and very cool. And I thought quarterback did a really good job of that. I also think that it was not nearly invasive as Hard Knocks is. Like, most of Hard Knocks, when you watch Hard Knocks, with some exceptions where they, the guy's on his day off fishing and they take the camera out there on the boat or whatever, and there's certainly some of that, but most of it is like they're showing team meetings, they're showing, the cut decisions, the cameras are in the GM's office. Like, I have a feeling that's the stuff that these teams don't necessarily like, whereas the quarterback stuff, to me, the stuff that was in the building was actually mostly the game footage, where NFL Films is at most of these games anyway. Yeah. They got players mic'd up anyway. The Bears have guys mic'd up every week, and they put those videos out on ChicagoBears.com. All that other stuff seemed to be, at Patrick Mahomes' house or at Kirk Cousins' house, or the interviews they filmed that were clearly done outside of the season or during the bye week or something like that. It did not seem like it was that invasive of a show. So I would hope if those producers came and said, hey, we want Justin Fields to be a part of this, I would hope that the Bears would see the benefit of that and not be afraid of it.
Yeah, with Hard Knocks, again, I've just learned this today. They literally bug your entire facility with cameras and microphones, and you have producers and audio guys listening, and they turn it on and off at their own choice, really. And they catch things that the teams don't want out there, and there's like a strange back and forth. So it is evasive. It's how it is. I think watching quarterback, you could tell that they did those around the schedules of the quarterbacks that work best for them. They made it work best for those guys. I think Justin Fields would actually be fantastic on that show too. I think he's got a whole other side to him.
By the way, he's also been a part of that show, a different one. But remember, he was on QB1 when he was in high school.
Yes.
He has lived that life. His family has lived that life. They featured his family on that show. So he would also have the perspective of knowing, like, do I want to go through that again or not? But if he handled it as a high schooler, I think he can handle it as a professional.
Yeah, I think the production of the two shows is different. And I've said this on the show before. George McCaskey is a Hallis. And if he tells the NFL no, usually they're going to listen and have listened. in the past.
Thanks.
Appreciate the question. I'm also interested. I don't know the answer to this right now, and I hope I can find it. But just like how much control do the teams even have over saying no on this particular show? Because again, I think like if a player,
a lot of it's done outside the building. Yeah,
if a player wants to have his life filmed at his house, team can't say no to that.
No, yeah, I'm sure there's some level of clearance. I'm sure. Well, look at the Falcons and Marcus Mariota.
Yeah,
I mean, do you think they gave the complete thumbs up on that?
What also I found interesting about that part of the show is I didn't feel like the show went to bat for him too much to defend him leaving. They were like, yeah, he kind of had a knee injury, but all right, that's the end of that storyline. And it was like, okay. So yeah, that part of it was interesting to me too. Good show though. I hope everybody checks it out if they haven't already. And I'm glad that it lived up to the hype. And I hope Justin Fields is a part of it in the future. Regardless, I'll still watch it, though.
Yeah.
So
it's already been renewed for next year.
They should have Justin Fields and Jordan Love. They should.
That'd actually be a really good television.
I would watch it. All right. Hey, appreciate everybody who came out tonight. This is awesome, the support from you guys. I hope you pick up some merchandise while you're here.
Yes, please support Obvious Shirts.
Yeah, and, it helps support the podcast. Obviously, helps Obvious Shirts. And one of the reasons why we love partnering with Obvious Shirts is because they understand as much as anyone. Once you get your brand out there, people see it. They ask you about the shirt you're wearing. It's perfect. So you're not only by spending some money, but also just wearing the shirt out. It helps expose the podcast even more. And we appreciate all support because word of mouth has been more important than anything else I think we've done over the years in growing this thing. So for those listening or watching on YouTube, same thing. All of these shirts available on obviousshirts.com. So if you weren't able to make it out here tonight, you can we'll have the new shirts up there, obviousshirts.com. Joe also told me the hats are coming in sometime soon-ish, I think. So we will have hats. 10 days. 10 days
Very
from
soon.
now, we're gonna have hats and
polos.
Really excited about that. Polos are on the way as well. So we promised new merchandise. It's coming. We love our partnership with Obvious Shirts, and we're grateful that they had us out here tonight.
And we're grateful for all of you. Thank you.
This has been awesome. So appreciate it. With training camp starting up, we will be back later on this week. Of course, back to our regular schedule. Usually in the preseason, we have our 2 shows a week. And then obviously once we get to the regular season, 3 shows a week with our post-game shows as well. So we'll have you covered. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns, at K Fishbane. Read these guys on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. If you're not already an Athletic subscriber, you should be. And if you missed it, I announced this earlier today, my Bears Things newsletter will start coming out daily for those of you that are also CHGO diehards. So you can go to allchgo.com/diehard, sign up there, and you'll be getting an email that I promise is not spam every morning. You'll mark it as spam.
It's already in there,
which is fine.
Every day now, huh? Got a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, I do have a lot of things. So, and I hope that there's a lot of things to talk and write about once we get in the.
I just wanted to have like one Bears thing from Adam Hoge. That's it.
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be
every day.
Yeah, it's going to be. You get one thing from me, and then I'm going to go back to bed.
Okay.
No. No. So that's available for you as well. Am I forgetting anything? Thanks to our producer Kent. Kevin, thanks for coming down here. Appreciate it. Everyone who showed up tonight, it's been a great crowd. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later on in the week.
See ya.